A year ago, when the new management team got to Apple, we looked at the marketplace and we said, although Apple's market share has declined, it's still extraordinarily strong in the design and publishing market, where Apple's market share is between 50 and 90, depending on what segment you look at, and in the education market, where Apple owns over half of the installed base and about 35% of the new selling units, bigger than anybody else. What we didn't say was that Apple had declined rapidly in the consumer market, a market that it invented. Apple invented the market for selling computers to consumers. And yet it had failed to come out with compelling products at consumer price points for several years. So even though we didn't talk about it, we began a program to get back into the consumer market with a vengeance. And this is where we see a tremendous amount of growth for ourselves. We are doing extremely well in the design and publishing market and starting to do much better in the education market. But adding the consumer market to that will make both of those even stronger. And we're going to do it with the iMac. We think we've got some incredibly unique assets to go make this happen beyond just the products themselves. So what are some of those? I'd like to cover 4 today. The first one is the brand. In a world that is completely overloaded with information, where people are overwhelmed with information coming at them every day, brands become even more important. People don't have the time to choose everything in their lives, and brands help them make those choices. And there is no brand in the computer industry that is as remotely as strong as Apple's. Apple's brand around the world is right up there with Disney and Sony and Nike in terms of recognition and in terms of consumer loyalty. Now, it's also worth pointing out that the other 3 brands on this slide have all had serious problems. Look at Disney when Michael Eisner got there. Look at Nike and Sony over the last half a dozen years. But when these companies have straightened out their problems, their brands have come back stronger than ever. Brands take decades to build, and we think we have one of the best in the world. We are also investing. We are also investing heavily in our brand. And when we started our Think Different campaign, we said, Apple has to tell people who we are and what we stand for. And we thought a lot about how to do that. And the best way that we could think of was to say who our heroes are. You can learn a lot about somebody by asking them who their heroes are, can't you? And so we've said, these are our heroes, and we've put them out there, trying to tell people who we are, what we stand for, what our values are, alongside some slightly more aggressive product advertising. The second unique asset we have is our installed base. Apple is very fortunate to have an installed base of somewhere between 22 and 25 million customers, and I've used the low end of that range. 22 million customers here on this chart. 10 million of them are in the consumer market. There are 10 million Macs in homes. We do a lot of research on this, and our research shows that these people have been defecting at less than 10% a year to the opposition, as Douglas Adams was saying. Less than 10%. These are very loyal customers, but most of their Macs are 3, 4, 5 years old. They have not been upgrading as they should have and as their counterparts in the Wintel space have been, because Apple has not been offering them great products at those consumer price points. And so we think these 10 million consumers are ripe for a product like an iMac. In addition to that, the 6 million education machines out there, many of them are ripe for upgrading, and the response from the education market to iMac has been off the charts. So 16 million of just our own installed base to go after, not to mention the tens of millions of Wintel customers and the millions of customers each year entering the market that do not own a computer at all. The third unique asset we have is what we call design or fashion. We believe that as the price points come down, as the consumer market blossoms, design and fashion become even more important. Let me give you an example. This is the most popular watch in the world. And it's popular not because it tells time better than any other watch. It's popular because of its design. I'll give you an interesting statistic. 10 years ago, the average American owned one watch. Because of design entering watches, the watch market, today the average American owns 7 watches. Okay? 7 watches because of design, because of fashion. Now, when we dream of this, right? And one of the great joys that I found at Apple a year ago was the best industrial design team I've ever seen in my life. Right? The designs for the new PowerBook G3 and the iMac, they're all done inside Apple by some brilliant, super hard-working people. And you're going to see a continual stream of very innovative design out of Apple. I think the best in the industry by a mile. And lastly, let us not forget simplicity. We've got the easiest to use, easiest to set up product in the world. The other guys have tried to copy us for 10 years, but it's still not as good. And for once in a long time, we're not standing still anymore. So, how do we measure simplicity? I've got my final video to show you, and it's wonderful. It's a simplicity shootout, and I'd like to run it now.
The iMac's superior performance is easy to benchmark, but its real power lies in its simplicity. How do you measure simplicity? Meet Adam Taggart, age 26. He will be assembling a Hewlett-Packard Pavilion 8250. Meet 7-year-old Johan Thomas. He'll be setting up an iMac. Johan will be assisted by Brody, a border collie. Let's start the clock and see how long it takes to get from out of the box onto the internet. Adam's Hewlett-Packard 8250 is based on the Intel Celeron 266 MHz processor and boasts lots of features. It's a good computer. For a Wintel PC, it comes in 2 big boxes. Johan's iMac comes in just 1 box, but that doesn't mean he's working with less computer. The PowerPC G3 processor that powers every iMac makes it twice as fast as Adam's PC. The iMac is loaded with all the same features, plus it has built-in 100 base T Ethernet networking and a bigger 15-inch display. More power wrapped in an all-in-one package. Adam was off to a good start, but he's falling behind. He has lots of components to unpack and hook up. He needs help. Let's speed him up to make it fair. The iMac's all-in-one design makes it easy for Johan and Brody. Connect the power, keyboard, mouse, and built-in modem. Adam's getting confused. Putting together a PC takes concentration. He's double-checking the directions. At 4 minutes and 40 seconds, Johan powers up the iMac. Time for a break. Those external speakers are costing Adam time. And look at all those cables. Johan is close to the finish line. Using Internet Setup Assistant, from out of the box onto the Internet, he logs on at 8 minutes, 15 seconds. Game over. At 14 minutes, 51 seconds, Adam finally powers up the Pavilion. Now might be a good time to review some of the extensive documentation that comes with every PC. With all the time he saved, Johan checks his stock portfolio. At 18 minutes, 10 seconds, Adam locates his certificate of authenticity and starts to register Windows. Do we really need to see more? Adam's final time to log on is 27 minutes, 39 seconds, over 3 times longer than Johan and Brody. Now you're probably thinking, this isn't fair. You're right, Brody helped.
So, by the way, that was totally real. We just got these two guys and filmed them. Didn't tell them anything, and it was totally real. We got to make that into a commercial, don't we? Yeah. So, these are four incredibly powerful, unique, compelling assets. The brand, the installed base, especially in the consumer and education markets, the ability of our design to really take these products into that consumer space of fashion, and the fact that our products are dramatically simpler to set up and use than our competition's. Incredibly important, and we think these things, along with products like the iMac, are going to allow us to grow in the consumer market, and grow in the education market, and grow in the design and publishing market. So with this product starting off with, we expect to see some growth in the next 6 months at Apple, and we will share that with you as it happens. So again, going back to Abraham Maslow, he created his hierarchy of needs, and we've borrowed it today to take a look at a hierarchy of skepticism that's followed us for the last year as we've slowly demonstrated step by step that Apple is coming back in a very big way. And we spent a lot of the last year working on these three things, which are now visible: the survival of the company, a very stable and healthy business, and a terrific product strategy. And we are now going to demonstrate these last two steps. Applications coming back to the Mac. People are absolutely going to be able to get the applications they want on the Mac, and in many cases they're going to be the best versions available, and how this all translates into growth for Apple, for its developers, and for the market in general of Macintosh customers. So I really appreciate the chance to be with you today. We've got a great show. Go check out the iMacs, go check out a lot of the USB peripherals, and go check out a lot of this great software. Thank you very much.
You heard Sinbad, Gregory Wright,